Welcome to BD4, an RJ Carbone podcast. BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. BD4 is a 5-star show on Apple Podcasts, also available in video format on YouTube and Spotify. So thanks for stopping by, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Champion of the world, turning, looking, see ya!
Anthony for three, bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied!
Time! Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand.
Yankees win!
All right, what's happening, everybody? Episode 470 of the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. Thank you for stopping by and listening to episode 470 of BD4. Getting right into it. The Knicks with a, kind of a feel-good win, man. This is one of their better, bigger wins of the season. It was much needed against the Cavs last night. I was going into it with a lot of doom and gloom myself. The Leon Rose narrative starting to flare up again, and I'm one of those Knicks fans who are still very frustrated with how that went down. But put aside for a night as the skid stops at 4, the Knicks end their losing streak. The Fire Tibbs rumblings, at least, as they were ramping up lately, at least quieted down for, until their next loss. So all that's pushed aside for a night as the Knicks defeat the Cavs at home for the 105-103 victory. Defensive battle in this one, but the Knicks win, now 26-23 on the year, still the 7th seed, but they are one game off. But they are one game off from the number 6, which I really, really hope they can grab. Both teams kind of coming out the gate strong in the first quarter with hot shooting. The Knicks had it going from three-point land. They knocked down 8 triples in the period. They had 9 assists to open up the night too. They finished the first quarter in the lead, 34-27. Second quarter slowed down a bit for both sides. They kind of came back down to earth. It was more physical, a lot of fouling. I think there were 12 fouls in the period. But Quickley checks in. He starts cooking. Brunson gets a couple of baskets to fall. And literally, that was about it for the Knick offense. I don't think anybody else made a field goal besides those two and maybe Hartenstein. But the third quarter was very close. Both teams kind of started to heat up again. Some questionable calls in the fourth quarter, making it a very tough battle until the end. And questionable calls on both sides. Randle may have gotten hit. There's that, obviously, the continuation play for Cleveland. The Donovan Mitchell play at the end was controversial. But so let's run it back, because It was a very action-packed final 2 minutes as I found myself in a moral crisis, very moral crisis here. It was a crisis because I had a bet on this game, and the bet was, I think I had hit 4 of the 5 picks, but the final pick that I needed was an alternative over at 211.5 points, I think it was. And it literally came down to the final seconds, and I needed 3 points. And Cleveland had the ball in a 2-point deficit for them. So I was I'm like, oh, shit. I was trying to find my money, but I wanted to win. But whatever, I'll take the win. Around the 2-minute mark, Randle breaks the tie with a huge three-pointer at the top. Then with about 50 seconds left, that's when Hartenstein makes his key block on Donovan Mitchell with the Knicks up 3. Then you get the Garland and one finish to bring Cleveland within 2 points around the 40-second mark. And then in the final 10 seconds, with the Knicks up 2 points still, Donovan Mitchell drives right. He's going up for the dunk, but Hartenstein rotates over, contests the shot, gets the stop. The buzzer eventually sounds, and the Knicks win. Again, very controversial. I don't know what Cavs fans are saying. I can only imagine they believe they got ripped off. But again, I'm never one to complain about officiating either side. You know that if you've listened to this show long enough. And so the final score at the Garden last night, 105-103. The Knicks pull this one away. And I'm looking, right off the bat, obviously Randle had a great performance. We'll touch on that. The defense. The defense showed up yesterday. They got it done. 2 of their losses heading into this game, the last 2, very awful defensively. Looked like they were never going to win again without Robinson. But they got it done on a night without Mitch. Excuse me. So props to them and credit to Coach Thibodeau. And some numbers for you here. See if I can pull them up on the screen. Here we are. This is if you're watching the show. But the Cavs were held to 103 points. Very good. Mitchell and Garland, that's their dynamic backcourt. Together, they scored 46 points on 46 attempts. So, inefficiency right there. They shot 37% between them. And together, they were only 7 out of 20 inside the arc. Which, again, is impressive considering how, those are 2 guys who attack the rim a lot. And, again, the Knicks were without Mitch Robinson. We do have to keep in mind that Cleveland is one of the NBA's lowest scoring offenses, 26th in points per game. That really shocked me when I saw that. When Breen mentioned it last night. You'd think they'd be top notch. They are 11th in offensive rating. And I know, people see that as a more accurate statistic. But, they had some moments. Jared Allen did some damage for sure inside the paint, dunking all night. 24 points on 70%. The Cavs scored 52 paint points. That's going to happen. You can't contain everybody, but, he's a good player. But I thought the job that Isaiah Hartenstein and Jericho Sims did last night was very exceptional for the Knicks. Both of them were key on both sides of the floor. First of all, on the glass, the Knicks were they collected 9 offensive rebounds, but 8 of them came between just 3 guys. That's Hartenstein, Sims, and Randle. Hartenstein had 2 huge ones in the fourth quarter. One early fourth in a 5-point game, and then the other was that big-time, huge energizer putback dunk after the Jalen Brunson miss with 3 minutes to go. And the Knicks at the time were only up 2 until that dunk. And he had some huge moments just overall. That was one of them. But there were 3 game-saving plays, in my opinion, from Isaiah Hartenstein. There was that play. There was the block shot on Donovan Mitchell that we just ran through with less than a minute to play. And then, again, the final possession to force the miss on Donovan Mitchell and secure the win. Those were the 3 biggest plays of the night to me, and they were all because of Isaiah Hartenstein. I thought he played good defensively, man. I thought he navigated the drop defense well for a change. His footwork wasn't a problem last night. No dumb fouls, no dumb reach-ins. He contested slashers pretty well, contested shooters pretty well. He was closing out, keeping up with his men, positioned himself a lot better in drop coverage. And I thought he was very good defensively. And, he produced pretty productive. Aside from the 4 points in 23 minutes, you got 4 assists, 9 rebounds, a steal, and a block. I loved the passing. He had the nice give-and-go bounce pass to a cutting, Deuce McBride in the fourth quarter. That put the Knicks up 11 or 12. And I loved that assist. and I also loved the one to RJ from the right elbow, where RJ drove right off the catch. Because it's everything that I've been saying about how I wish Tom Thibodeau would utilize Isaiah Hartenstein, right? As that playmaking big, more in that high post role at the top of the key. So you saw some of that last night, and he made a nice dime to Quickley too, up top, off a little screen and roll. But it was the intangibles in the defense and everything else aside from the scoring, which he didn't do much of, that made this one of his better games as a Knick. I enjoyed watching him for a change last night. He was signed to bring that type of intensity and have those intangibles. And although he has sucked and not given that to us most nights, I'll give him credit for last night. And I thought Jericho Sims also did very well, despite the numbers being, pretty non-existent. I thought Sims held his own. Allen is tough, but I thought he made him work. He contested shots well in the paint. He's just small. He's 6'9". He was in the right spots, though. He was positioning himself better in drop coverage himself, setting strong screens offensively. And I loved that hustle play on that loose ball where he just knocks Mobley out the way and jumps right for the ball. And I think the Knicks need more of that. They need more of that FU mentality where they're not afraid about hurting the opposing player or getting called for a whistle. Right? They just worry about the winning plays. I want more of that. Guys sacrificing everything just to make a winning play. Don't worry about the foul. Don't worry about injury. Just go after it. I love that shit. And I was really, really happy to see Jericho Sims make that hustle play. And, he's a guy who's, getting his opportunities now in the starting lineup. So he wants to make it, make the best of it. And I do wish the Knicks utilized him a little more too. For a guy who's a pretty great finisher, he's 81% field goals on the year, and I think he's converted 13 shots in a row now. I would like to see him used more. Whether it's, running pick and roll for an oop, or feeding him in those rim runs, or dumping it down to him in the dunker spot. We know Grimes is good at that, and actually that's how Sims got his only basket last night, cutting from that short corner, and then, Grimes off that drive makes the dump off. So I think we should use him more in when we run offense, But last night, again, you had Allen down there. He's long. He contests the rim very well, so I understand kind of going away from that. But, yeah, the defense from Jericho, from Hartenstein, it was very strong. They both deserve big praise. And on the perimeter, I thought Grimes and Quickley held it down last night. RJ had some good moments where he'd anticipate the spot that the ball handler would attack, doing a nice job making reads. But I thought it was Quickley and Grimes last night really, really, really playing good defense. So I just wanted to start off with that. And I want to talk about our Bing Bong Ball game winner. Fucking Christ. I want to talk about who... I just can't speak sometimes. I want to talk about our one of the players who won a Bing Bong game ball last night, and it's Julius Randle out of the starting lineup, and we'll get to him right now.
Bing bang.
He went off. Randle did. It's the offensive effort last night from Randle that really got the win for the Knicks. 36 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 11 of 21 from the field, 8 of 12 from 3, 6 of 7 at the free throw line. So he was efficient across the board with the shooting. He reached a career high again in three-pointers made, and that was obviously due to a red-hot first quarter, which he has often, right? He likes to shoot out the gate. He was sniping, he was heat-checking, and he was connecting early on. They were dropping 17 points in the first, 5 triples, grabbing some rebounds too early on. But also, his third quarter, I feel like despite the third quarter not being as great statistically, I think without it, the Knicks lose this game. He brought some huge energy in that period. He missed the three-pointer early on out the half. Then he made a bad pass. But then he found it, and he started clicking again. And the key play for me was his work on the glass, rebounding on that one possession where he made that hustle layup, which he seems to get at least 2 of these every night, where he grabs his own miss down in traffic in the restricted area, and it's just like a relentless, I refuse to finish this possession without a foul or a bucket type of mentality. And he had one of those possessions, converts it, and he cuts the deficit to 3. This was a little past midway through the third quarter. And then at the end of the third, with the Knicks on a little bit of a run, Randle connects on back-to-back triples to put them up 5 points. So I thought he was great. He did have 5 turnovers. You know, the one to Grimes kind of bothered me because he was bitching to him for no reason. But all in all, I thought he made some nice reads as a passer. He did a nice job anticipating the help defender pretty well and getting rid of it quickly. Couple passes from the perimeter, couple out of a drive. He had a nice chemistry going with RJ and Grimes last night. And, of course, he kept attacking the glass. Right? He's been on fire on the boards for quite a bit. He's averaging over 13 rebounds in his last 25 games. 21 of those games have been double-doubles, points, rebounds. That's the definition of consistency right there. So, he was great. And I really thought the Knick offense was actually pretty good despite the 105 points. Like, in terms of scoring in their opportunities, the Knicks ran offense pretty well last night. You know, they moved the ball very well, and they knocked down their field goals. They had 25 assists on 37 baskets. That's very solid. They shot 49% overall, 48% from 2, and 52% from 3. They just ran it slower. They played slower paced. They only took 75 shots. And that's unfortunately what they do. It's how they run offense. You know, when you have Tibbs, when you have Brunson at point guard, when you've got Randle as a top 2 option, you're going to play slower. You know, you're going to emphasize quality over quantity. You know, that's been one of Tibbs' mantras since he's been here. I do wish we played faster. You know, I don't love the half-court play. But if it comes with less isolation, which last night it did, I can live with it. I think that the reason there was a lack of scoring on the Knicks' end was a few things. One, they played slow. But 2, turnovers. And thirdly, they missed their free throws, which they always do. But I don't think it had anything to do with scoring or like the way they ran their offense and attacked Cleveland. You know, I thought they did that well. They were definitely too sloppy, though. 15 turnovers in this game, and, you know, that's a night after having 16. And the turnovers were like spread even throughout the game. Each quarter they would have 3 or 4. RJ slipped in the first quarter. Brunson forced a pass at the top of the key to RJ early on. Sims trying to force a backdoor dime when it was sealed off. You had the travel call on Quickley in the second. Randle making some dumb ones, but that's, you know, going to be Randle. That's how he operates. You know, going cross court with Garland standing right there. That irked me. Obviously the one that Grimes bounces out of bounds in the corner. 2 bad ones in the fourth quarter where he dribbles right into the defense. One at the top, one driving middle. But shot the free throw 67%. It's never happens. It's just never gonna happen. It's always gonna be a problem. The starters converted their free throws at a fine rate. It was the bench who shot 2 for 6 together. That's where most of the free throws came from, the missing. But I do think the bench actually showed some more life last night for a second consecutive game. And I want to talk about the bench when we return. Stay with us. Be right back. Hey guys, so if you are a listener of the podcast often and you want to know where to find me on social media, you can find me on Facebook at BD4. You can find me on Twitter at BD4Pod. And you can also find me on Instagram at RobJCarbone. BD4 is located on many different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and if you do there, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review. You can listen to it on Spotify, but you can also watch the podcast on both Spotify and YouTube. BD4 is available on many other platforms as well. All you got to do is search it up. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and much more. All right, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, episode 470. I thought the bench showed life again. We talked about Hartenstein already. 4 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, steal, a block, great defense, great energy, clutch fourth quarter play on both sides. Deuce McBride, I thought he showed some more life. He moved the ball well. 3 dimes. He had an outlet assist. He was aggressive off the dribble. Crossover last night. Drew some contact. Had an and one finish over Ricky Rubio. So I thought he was good. Always like when he's aggressive. Quickley was great. He brought it from every asset of the game. We'll talk more on him later. Obi gave you some more microwave scoring for a second consecutive night. That's a good sign. 11 points in 10 minutes. 3 rebounds. The shooting, playing the fast break. He finished 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from the arc. Took defenders off the dribble well. You want to see that aggressiveness more. Couple finishes. Drew some contact, knocked down the 3 ball. It was a good night from Obi from the bench. It was a good night from the bench and a positive sign to see some production from the second unit in 2 consecutive contests. My goal is usually I would like to see the bench give you 30 to 35. I think league average is right around there. I want to say like 35 points maybe is league average per game for the bench. But remember, the Knicks second unit, they run 4 guys. They don't run a 5-man second unit like a lot of teams will. And last night they finished with 27 points. I'll take that, And remember, you had some guys miss free throws that normally do not. But, yeah, the minutes thing, listen, the same shit. Tibbs went, heavy with the starters. And, of course, the Obi thing was similar. But with Obi, Randle was hot. Hartenstein played great. Jericho looked nice. The Cavs are a team with a ton of size. So, whether it was playing small ball or plugging him in 1-for-1 with Randle, last night not giving Obi minutes was more understandable. But again, I do get it. Because whether or not that's all a case, Obi's always getting minimal playing time, right? We did the same exact thing with him in the second half, where he only plays, I think you saw 3 minutes and change. He saw early fourth quarter minutes. He played well, knocked down a corner 3 ball, finishes a layup in the fast break, but then he's pulled like a minute after he misses a 3 ball for Randle. I'm always going to be one to want to ride a hot hand, and I think Obi had a hot hand. You score 5 points in 30 seconds. I think it's worth keeping you on the floor to see how much more you can get. Not to guarantee that with more volume of minutes, he'll remain just as productive, because I don't think so. But, on nights where he's going, why not, right? Sure, it didn't hurt last night at the end of the day. However, it did Sunday night. that you can make that case. I just think I'm out of ideas. I just think it could be a trust thing when it comes to Obi Toppin and Tibbs. We mentioned that a few episodes back. Tibbs is probably thinking defense and rebounding, where Obi on most nights isn't going to wow you there. If he's rebounding, if he's playing defense, if he does that more, I think Tibbs plays him. But it's kind of a lose-lose because his identity will never be that. Let's be honest. He's a bucket guy. But yet, at the end of the day, he still makes positive impact. So shouldn't that really be what matters? So I totally get it. I'm done tripping over it because to me, Obi freaking Toppin, a nice player, but it's not worth stressing over on a nightly basis. It's gonna continue to happen, and I'm just not gonna use my energy on that. A lot of Knicks fans think he's a star. I no longer think that. I think maybe it's possible that someday he could become, a 15 points per game guy tops. But I don't know. I don't think it's that big a deal that he's not getting significant run. I'm not advocating for Tibbs to be fired because Obi Toppin doesn't play 20 minutes. And I like what Tibbs did last night with the lineups. I did. I thought he mixed and matched a little more than he usually does. We saw Brunson, Grimes, and RJ play with that second unit, which we don't see too often. And I think we closed with, Brunson, Quickley, Grimes, Randle, and Hartenstein, which was fun because they all played well together. And of course you had RJ check in late during the final minute and a half for size. But yeah, that's it. If you want to finish, Brunson, he was off again, 14 points, 5 of 13 shooting, 4 assists. Slowing down lately, maybe a little concerning. Last 5 games, feels like he's either not scoring much, or he is scoring, but it's in volume and not really efficient. Right? He was 11 out of 29 on the 16th against Toronto. He only dropped 19 against the Hawks the other day. Shot 40% against Toronto on Sunday, and then just 38% last night with 14 points. I think the Cavs did a nice job using their size to slow Brunson down and prevent him from getting to his spots. Maybe defenses have adjusted a little bit, and now he just has to counter and readjust himself, because he has been getting trapped often. I thought Cleveland had some good ball denial last night. They played the pass lanes well. You're seeing defenses throw their best wing defender on Brunson more often. I do wish there would be nights where he play off the ball in some spurts. You don't have a ton of creators, but you do have Quickley. You've got Randle. Maybe a little bit of RJ can shot create. But again, whatever. He was also just scorching hot, recently. So maybe he's just regressing a tad from that, which was bound to happen after dropping 30, 40 points a night for over a week, right? And he did make some big second half shots. He made some nice plays. Nice dime to Randle for that 3 in the fourth. Defended well. I thought he did a nice job drawing some offensive fouls. Played the lanes well. But yeah. RJ and Grimes. RJ not much. Wasn't on fire for 3 quarters, but he did start the game hot. 5 of 12 overall from RJ. 16 points. Not the worst in the world. Mobley's a tough guy to score on. Cleveland had length. Gave him some trouble at the rim. So he was 2 of 7 inside the arc. I thought he had moments defensively. Grimes was so-so, but he scored 10 points and he bounced back defensively. I thought that was important. And then we'll wrap it up with Immanuel Quickley, who gets our second Bing Bong game ball coming off the bench last night.
Bing bang.
Yeah, man, I thought he was great. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, a steal, 4 of 8 shooting, 27 minutes. Got into the paint, despite the size disadvantage down there. Some nice passing. He had the no-look dime to the baseline. He had, he and Grimes again with the lockdown defense down the stretch of the game. Obi, I think Obi's starting to thrive lately, and a big part of that is Quickley. He made a pass to Obi on the perimeter early in the game for that deep 3 ball, and then the outlet pass later on that leak out. But that's it. That's it for this game. A quick episode, 30 minutes in this one, but hey, Knicks do their job. Good bounce back win. And again, they're just going to continue to be this 500 team. So people are going to freak out when they lose, and they'll flip out when they win. So Boston is next. That should be tough. It's at the TD Garden. So you never know, just like with last night. But that's it. So when we get back from break, we'll wrap it up with our trivia, and that'll be that. Stay with us. Be right back. We also have a website now for BD4. If you go to BD4blog.com, you can find the blog, the podcast links, and also where to find me on social media. Just go to BD4blog.com. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Welcome back to the show. You are listening to episode 470 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. Thanks for stopping by. So we'll wrap this one up. Episode 470, we'll wrap it up with our trivia question of the day. All right, so for this episode 470, our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day, it's a true or false question. True or false? Before Amar'e Stoudemire in 2011, the last Knick to receive an MVP vote was Patrick Ewing. All right, so listen carefully to that one. True or false? Before Amar'e Stoudemire in 2011, the last Knick to receive an MVP vote was Patrick Ewing. All right. So I'm not asking you who the last Knick to receive an MVP vote was. Currently, I'm asking you the last Knick to receive one prior to Stoudemire in 2011. All right. Was that true or false? Before Amar'e Stoudemire in 2011, the last Knick to receive an MVP vote was Patrick Ewing. Let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. If you get the answer correct, I'll give you a shout out in the next show. That's it, fellas. Episode 470 is in the books. I'm your host, RJ. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for tuning into the podcast, and I'll see you in 471. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.